People say that we live in an age of great cartoons, with stuff like Steven Universe, Gumball, Adventure Time, Rick and Morty, or BoJack Horseman. A fairly new cartoon that gets mentioned too, but isn't regarded as quite up there, is The Loud House, which premiered 2016 on Nickelodeon. And I think it's really good. It has some problems, we'll get into those, but the basic premise is that it's about this guy named Lincoln Loud. Get it? Loud House, it's his show name, whatever. And his daily lives with his 10 sisters. Yes, 10, really. There's Lori, Lenny, Luna, Luan, Lucy, Lynn, Lisa, Lola, Lana, and Lily, who is a baby. The show is a slice of life comedy, just showing these characters interact with each other and their daily lives. Nothing too exciting, I suppose. They're not out saving the world from some guy that has a gauntlet where he snaps his fingers, he kills half of the inhabitants in the whole universe or something. It's simple stuff, but it's really effective because the humor is usually spot on. Because these characters are great and I love the way they interact with each other. Almost all the character-based humor in the show really works. Unfortunately, the big problem I have with this show is that it has a lot of toilet humor, which I'm not a fan of. I admit a few of the jokes works in that department, but there's just way too much. Had it not been for that, I would have said this is one of the greatest cartoons Nickelodeon has ever produced. My personal favorite is Hey Arnold, if you're curious. Another problem is also a problem of the show's strength that I just talked about. There's 11 main characters, not counting the parents they have. They're not in it too much in the first season. Think about this. We have Lincoln's best friend, the friends he has at school, the teachers there. Then we have unexplored territory like the older girls at school, their friends, or other characters that they interact in their daily lives. And if I would go about this like Lisa or something, mathematically speaking, if there's 11 main characters and all of them have to interact with each other individually in at least one episode, that's 11 times 11. That's a lot of episodes. But that's what I really want. I love to see these characters' daily lives, what they go through, what they're thinking, what their friends are, etc. Because like I said, the characters are really good. Even if on paper they are really one-dimensional, they usually have like one character quirk. They try to flesh them out, like having something you might not have guessed from them from at first glance. For example, Lori, who is a typical millennial teenager, plays golf, although that's kind of unexplored at the moment. Lisa, who is like a 4-year-old genius, for some reason really like West Coast hip-hop, which I find hilarious. And Lola, who is a very self-centered beauty queen, has a few insecurities. And when the humor just comes from these characters just getting on each other's nerves or just talking to each other and just spending time with each other, it's really damn good. And it's not really easy to explain either, because you just have to get to know these characters and just see them work off each other. I think a really good example would be, there's an episode where Lincoln tries to play Cupid with two of his teachers. So he tries to get girl advice from Lori, and she loves it when she goes to her and asks her for like girl trouble. So she says like, I have a friend that there's a girl he likes, and she, of course she thinks she's talking about himself, and he's like, no, it's not me. And he tries to explain the situation, and she keeps interrupting and say, well, if you really want, it's not for me. And it keeps going on like that for a little while. And then finally he goes something like, if you do this one more time, I swear I'm gonna go and ask Lola. Now most of you think, what the hell is funny with that? But if you've seen the show, you know exactly why that's so funny. And that only works because there are these characters. And there's a lot of moments like that. I also really like how the earlier seasons focuses more on Lincoln's perspective. But then there's just maybe an episode that focuses solely on Ronnie Ann with Lincoln barely in it. Maybe there's one with two of the other sisters are just having fun. One of my favorites is probably when Lori and Lenny gets into a show that Lucy, who is like imagine a Twilight, except actually charming and an interesting character. They get into the show that Lucy likes, because they introduce a new character that's played by a actor they find handsome. And I'm even gonna say where that all leads, but it's really touching. That's also probably what I like the most about this show. Because there are surprisingly many legit touching moments. I promised myself I would never talk about spoilers here unless it's super warranted, so I'll try to keep it as vague as I can. But there's an episode where Lincoln spends some time with Lana, who is like a mechanic and she loves animals and getting dirty and stuff like that. And at the end, Lincoln realizes he was wrong and he gets on his knees and apologizes to her. It doesn't even last all that long, but it's like the way it's animated, the voicing, it really works. And clearly the show once again did have some sort of effect on it, because I imagine Lola's not very popular in the fan base or something because she's kind of a bitch and manipulative and self-centered. But there's an episode where she goes to a really big beauty pageant, and during the pageant itself I was like, wait a minute, I actually want Lola to win? The one we're supposed to hate? Or at least dislike or something. But I just love seeing these characters together, and they have so much fun, and sometimes these people just act like actual siblings, and at the end of the day they'll always be there for each other. Almost like an actual family. And seeing Lola's strengths and weaknesses just made me wish that she would win that pageant. So clearly the show has done its job. I could honestly go on for days, there's just so many good episodes. If you haven't seen the show and you wonder where to start, just go with the first episode. It introduces the characters really well and it has good jokes, and it's a really good introduction episode. As I said, not all the jokes work because I'm not a big toilet humor fan. But when they hit home, they really do. I think these characters will live on for a long time. They're pretty much Simpson tier. Maybe not the characters themselves, but the world they inhabit and the way they work off each other is just way too good. Now, please, for the mother of God or everything else that's sacred, don't ruin this, Nickelodeon. I don't want to see this become the next Fairly Odd Parents or something. Why am I saying that? Well, there's supposedly a movie in the works or a spin-off show that focuses on Ronnie and the new season. Yeah, maybe we should just slow down and let it sink in. But as of right now, the show is really good. I like it. Very recommended. Might not be for everyone, like I said, it's just a slice of life show. And the toilet humor is gonna put off a lot of people. Personally, I think they just put it there because otherwise the show might have been too good. And it's cool to see a hit show for Nickelodeon that's not like gross out shock humor or stuff like that. Although I guess the toilet humor does fall into that department, sort of. But I feel the show has the heart in its right place. And for what it's worth, I really think it's entertaining. It's good to see something new and fresh for Nickelodeon. I especially like the comic strip aesthetic it has going for it. Just really appealing to look at. And I do really love the overall fast pace of the episodes. They cram a lot of story in there for just 10-minute segments. And a lot of jokes too. When the next season drop, I might do another one of these. Because this is one of the few shows I will follow. So see you then, maybe? Regardless, thank you so much for watching. Or listening, I should say.